Right, okay. I can't move much this time. Oh, I can. The cat's going to get off. Brilliant. I just thought, because when I lay back, I'm like, because my belly's nearer the camera than my head, and it just looks even stranger than my actual body looks. So the Mandalorian this week.
Spoiler alert.
I was about to do it.
I thought I'd actually get a word in this time.
I was just going to say, like, episode first. I was just going to say it was like The Siege. He's saying that because apparently he had more to say on the Star Trek video and I cut it off. But he watched me lean forward and hit the stop button, didn't say anything till after I'd done it, did he? So The Siege, which is chapter 14, so series 2, episode 4. Excuse me. Sorry. I've been eating ever since I woke up. And oh my god, do you know, I was thinking, I genuinely thought as we were watching Discovery, this could be the week Discovery is better than The Mandalorian for me.
Mm.
And then we watched The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And no. Oh my god.
Again, not to say that Discovery is bad.
Oh, Discovery was excellent this week. Loved it. But then The Mandalorian came along, because we watched them in that order, because generally we prefer The Mandalorian.
We, as a bit of history, because they obviously both came back the same week when we caught them up, and we watched The Mandalorian first, and then we watched Discovery.
And Discovery felt shit in comparison.
Yes, even though it wasn't, because it was still a solid episode.
But it didn't feel as good.
So we've now made this agreement that we basically watch Discovery first, and then we watch The Mandalorian.
And look how that sits on my belly. Baby. And
you're way more conscious of it than it actually appears.
I know, and I keep drawing attention to it, which is even worse. It's like pop that open. Some people would like that, not many. This to me, right? I'll come on to a few little details in a minute, but this to me it just was Star Wars. It was 100% absolute quintessential fucking Star Wars DNA. There were lots of little references and asides that hark back to original trilogy. Speeder bikes being one example. They got on the speeder bike. When he accelerated, they gave you the exact same
foot pedal press
shot as Return of the Jedi, and the same close-up of the gun firing. So it's just those little nods. But it had, and then you had TIE fighters chasing the goodies through a canyon. At one point, one of them said "almost there," and then at the last minute, the other ship from the sort of renegade smuggler dude came along and shot and saved the day right at the last moment. Do you know what I mean? It was just glorious and hilarious. Whoever thought Baby Yoda in the ship? Paul missed it first time round. Granted, at that point we didn't realise they were then going to do a close up of it. But I clocked it when the Razor Crest first starts to pull up. You just see Baby Yoda in the background like he's on a roller coaster going. Oh, it was absolutely class, and nice to see the ship fixed. Even though it's in some way. I know they've only got 8 episodes or whatever, but it was a bit sort of, it's fixed already. I think could have probably given it like another episode maybe. But anyway, it is a cool ship. It's kind of like a worthy successor to Slave One, because I always thought Slave One was cool, and you never really saw it much. You kind of saw it in space a little bit. You saw it parked,
and you had that one bit in the prequel.
I'm just thinking purely of the original trilogy,
right?
Before they then sort of expanded it a bit, if you like. Slave One was also one of the few big ships from the action figure lines that I didn't have.
Oh, okay.
I had a lot of Star Wars stuff. Slave One was not amongst it.
A lot.
Had
being the key word in that sentence.
So I can't talk about it.
He will.
Not on this video.
Told you.
No, I can't, because I just get angry again. And it happened in 1985. I should be over it. Mother. Yeah, you talk for a bit because I'm now discombobulated by my Star Wars figures being sold for £15 when I was 15.
That's how I managed to get a word in. But no, this was, you can put your finger down there. This truly was an excellent episode. I mean, the whole series has just gone from. Are you done? Are you done for now? There we go. So yeah, so I mean, the whole series has just been phenomenal. And I know I made a reference. I think it was in the last week's episode of the review, possibly the week before, about the meme that's doing the rounds about that's his name, who I still can't friggin' remember, which is really bad. You know, being in the hospital, carrying the weight of the entire franchise on his shoulders, sort of thing. But honestly, when you've got stuff that's this Pedro
Pascal?
Yes, thank you. When you've got something that's this level of quality, you can kind of understand the meme, because this is what I would get someone who is a bit about Star Wars to actually sit down and watch to get them into it, because it literally it's hitting all of the right notes. And like, I mean, Paul's already mentioned, you've got the mix, you've got the action, you've got the humour, you've got the character moments, you've got the little nods. I mean, there's a glorious it's not so much a nod to the previous films in the sense that, say, the Flying Through the Trench was, but obviously with Cara Dune's character being from Alderaan.
That got me.
Yes.
I had a moment, like a split second. That's one of the moments I had.
Yes, and it's just the sort of the emotional beats that this story is hitting as well. I mean, there's another kind of nod back that we will possibly mention that we hope Favreau and Filoni are going the right way.
I was trying to ignore it. But when I said that there was another moment, that was the other moment, but it was a moment of horror.
But it's just that there's a real sense of they know what's gone before, and they're not trying to brush over it or ignore it or chart their own path, which I think is where Discovery Season 1 went wrong, is that they were trying to do what a lot of showrunners try and do, which is basically, well, it's our baby now, we're going to do what we want with it, and just ignore everything that's kind of gone on before.
And they tried to be clever, and they tried to be all sort of postmodern with it. And
yeah.
I think they just vanished up their own arse.
But yeah, this just... I think possibly this is one of my favourite episodes of The Mandalorian, full stop, of both series so far.
It just... The funny thing was again, it was that whole thing. It took me back. Okay, you could never do it, because you can't. But if you could go back and relive watching Star Wars
for the
very first time, this was as close as I've ever been to that experience.
Oh yeah, there's one thing I actually want to say is, you mentioned about your reaction to Cara Dune's revelation. Was it revelation? Did we know she's from Alderaan before this point?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Because I think all we knew about this point is that she was basically ex-Republic shock trooper, which is why she hates the Empire. This also kind of puts a whole extra spin on that. I was like, why she hates the Empire so much? Because they literally destroyed, her entire existence.
Well, you said the line before she did. The dude says to her, "Who did you lose?" And you just went, "Everyone."
Yeah.
She paused and went, "I lost everyone." We were like,
yeah, because he asked a very obvious. So, did you lose anyone during sort of? And it's I mean, it's the obvious response to something like that. I'd have been quite surprised if they hadn't gone for it, in all fairness.
All of a sudden, she's the Doctor.
Yes, except she didn't actually cause it.
Oh, there is that.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler alert in case you haven't watched Doctor Who.
Oh, thinking of Doctor Who though, I think that's what makes The Mandalorian work so well, and when Doctor Who came back and had a real sort of golden age,
renaissance.
Yeah. Ooh. Even I've got Renata in my head. Save your love, my darling. No, anyway. So
this is my payback for the earlier comment.
But that was, it was Russell. I mean, that's Julie Garner didn't know Doctor Who, I think, until they brought her into it, because some of the commentaries are brilliant if you go back and do the commentaries on those early episodes. But if you look at
Russell, you can say the same about Catherine Tate as well. She's hilarious.
If you have never watched Series 4 of New Doctor Who with Catherine Tate on the commentaries, even if you hate sci-fi and Doctor Who, just watch it with that soundtrack on, because you will cry with laughter.
Or just dig out the episode of Nevermind the Buzzcocks where she was on it as a guest and
David Tennant
was hosting, because it is hysterical. And they're obviously really, really, I mean, we know they're really good friends because obviously he's done stuff on the Catherine Tate show, and they've done Big Finish stuff together now as well, I think. But yeah, they are just hysterical. She is literally, you look at it and just think, how did you become such an important character in Doctor Who when you have that little a concept of what the show is even about? It is truly glorious. Or even
the episodes you were in some cases. I love Catherine, if you ever see this, we love you dearly, honey.
We do.
And David, we like you too.
We do, but not as much as Catherine.
David, you can come around and geek out. Catherine, you can come around and we'll just laugh.
Although we loved you in that like little webisode thing you did with Michael Sheen.
I've got no idea what that is.
They put it on a play during the time of COVID. David Tennant.
Oh, staged?
Yes.
Catherine Tate was in there?
No.
Oh.
David Tennant.
I thought you were talking to Catherine.
No, we're talking to David because you just mentioned...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, well, obviously we love staged. Again, if you haven't seen staged...
Watch it.
It's 90 minutes, right? You can do the whole first season in 90 minutes. They're 50-minute episodes. And just so clever and so funny and brilliant. Also love Michael Sheen, everything I've ever seen him in. Yes. Anyway, but I think, as I was starting to say 10 years ago, what works for The Mandalorian is because it was the same thing. You've got two fans who genuinely love and appreciate it, but back when it was good, rather than some of the iterations that...
This is Favreau and Filoni we're talking about.
Yeah, maybe haven't been quite. But that's what you had with Phil Collinson and Russell T Davies. So when they brought Doctor Who back, they did it with a genuine reverence and love for the show, but with an understanding of modern filmmaking and scripting and production. And I think you need all of that to make this a success. So obviously Stephen Moffat took over for Doctor Who, and Stephen was another big fan. So Chris Chibnall is another big fan, but somehow, I don't know. I think he's... That's a whole other video. Let's not talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
But Jodie, if you ever see this, and I think that's why The Mandalorian works as well as it does. And of course, what the big difference there is BBC budget, Disney budget.
Yeah.
So that's going to make a massive thing about what you can get and what you can do. But again, the nods. So like having I'm not enough of a Star Wars geek to know what class of droid C-3PO is.
It's just your basic protocol droid.
As a teacher, loved that. Voice was vaguely familiar. I might need to look up who that was. Could be just jobbing voiceover, but it might be someone I work with. Because I was going, know this voice? Don't come and get why I know this voice. But I'm assuming, so that classroom, that was the bar from like the very first episode.
I would imagine so, and it's been repurposed.
That was Carl Weathers.
For the Bounty Guild or whatever they were.
Whatever they were. Yeah.
I want to say the Exchange, but I think that's actually a criminal cartel from the games rather than.
So yeah, and so then let's just very briefly, because we have again rattled on for fucking ages. Talk about that ending. So you had this whole setup in the middle of the episode where there were undiscernible clones or created things. I had a moment where I was like,
I think some kind of weird like genetic splicing thing going on.
No, see, I wondered.
No.
I wondered were they going to be the first ones that became Snoke, that then went on to do.
Well, I assumed it was that was all linked into that whole thing.
Yeah.
That the Snoke clones from that series of films were basically failed Palpatine clones that could actually still be used for something.
Yeah. But that's what I wondered. Is it the start of that? Is Moff Gideon actually? Because obviously, what you realise in The Rise of Skywalker is there's been this
there's
series of puppets.
and there's an Imperial, like there's a core like old Imperial remnant, which again is something of a nod to I think the expanded universe, where you've got the Imperial remnant, who are one of the main players in the post original sort of trilogy sort of series of books, with Richard E. Grant's character, who is First Order, but you realise obviously in the third movie that he's not First Order. His first allegiance is to Palpatine and the Old Empire, and it does genuinely feel like what the Mandalorian is doing is basically kind of setting the scene for that, as to how all these remnants of the Empire are basically obviously going to continue on, and presumably some of them are going to be like their own offshoots, but you can see how the core of it will end up becoming the First Order.
Yeah, I mean, not directly, because you won't get the same characters per se.
As well,
yeah. Also, there's I don't know, 30 years to go before Force Awakens or what have you, ish. But I think what they can do with this is over, I don't know, 10 seasons set over 20 years, for example. They could get you from Jedi to the Force Awakens, but without actually following. Have it recast a Luke, a Leia, a Han, you know what I mean? So it'll all just be happening over there off screen, but you'll see the what's left of the Empire fall into the First Order. You could see like a young Hux or see Snoke sort of come about, whatever it is, because presumably from the Force Awakens, I think Leia's got a line to Han that Snoke was the kind of what really turned Ben away from the Jedi training.
Yes.
It wasn't necessarily that moment with Luke and the lightsaber. It was more of a sort of Snoke in his ear kind of thing.
Which presumably
obviously
means
is actually Palpatine in his ear,
yeah,
as we find out.
And presumably also a nod to the prequels, because that's essentially what they're saying was the fall of Vader, whereas you've got Palpatine in his ear as Chancellor
Chicken Korma.
Yes, him. Thank you, Dawn and Jennifer.
Well, he sounds a Palpatine. That is who he is.
Yeah, but no, his actual was it actually Palpatine?
Yeah,
I thought he had a different name.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't pretend to be. You're thinking of when he's Darth Sidious.
Yeah. Oh, yes, you're right. But yeah, so that's
why you're being served.
Yes, but presumably done better this time. Oh, to be fair, it wouldn't be difficult.
So yeah, we keep saying it and we keep meaning it. We love The Mandalorian.
We do.
Can I actually press stop this time?
Yes, you can.